Well, it's November 12th, 2025, and we're 42 days into the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. And as you know, the Senate has passed a deal to reopen the doors. This moment is about something deeper than gridlock, though. It's about who holds the purse. James Madison called it the most complete and effectual weapon placed in the people's hands. That's the power of the purse. And over the past 6 weeks, that power has drifted. Congress stalled. Benefits like SNAP and air traffic control, national parks, they were all impacted. The admin delayed payments and defended it in court. And now the Supreme Court has extended a stay, allowing the government to withhold $4 billion in SNAP payments, at least for now. Justice Jackson issued the original pause, but later said she'd have denied the longer extension. And the full court sided with delay. This isn't just a standoff. It's a separation of powers test. When Congress funds something and the executive controls the flow, Article 1 bends and executive discretion grows. The court also greenlit enforcement of a rule requiring passports to match the sex listed at birth. The prior self-ID policy, which was M, F, or X, is now suspended. And some frame this as a policy shift. But there's a deeper precedent at play, the right to travel. In Kent v. Dulles in 1958, the court recognized international travel as a protected liberty interest under the Fifth Amendment. That's what's at stake here, whether identification rules serve the traveler or serve the state. Then there's Learning Resources v. Trump, a case the court just heard. It asks whether the president can use the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose tariffs without Congress. You see, tariffs are supposed to belong to Congress. That's Article 1, Section 8. IEEPA was designed for emergencies, but over time, presidents have used it as a backdoor for trade power. The court hasn't ruled yet, but its questions suggest discomfort with emergency powers becoming permanent tools. Let's hope. And meanwhile, Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, the statute that enables bulk foreign surveillance and often sweeps in Americans, is up for renewal. It was last authorized in 2024 with a sunset set for 2026. And just last week, Senators Grassley and Durbin pressed the DOJ to stop restricting Congress from accessing the FISA court. The founders knew this danger. In 1761, James Otis stood in a Boston courtroom to oppose general warrants. And John Adams later said that moment sparked the revolution. So 2 centuries later, the Church Committee also exposed abuses that led to FISA itself. And now we're back to the same question. When the government listens, who gets to look back and see what they listen to? If we put this all together, a shutdown that lets the executive control a purse, a passport rule that reshapes liberty, a trade case testing the limits of emergency law, and surveillance authority expanding again, it's easy to miss the shift when each story comes with its own headline. But together, they move us out of the center. Because when checks break down and emergencies become habits, power doesn't just consolidate, it evolves. And the balance gets harder to feel, let alone restore. I've said it before, the Constitution does not enforce itself. It only lives if we insist on it. Not just during elections either, but in moments like this. Moments when a funding delay reshapes a family's week, when a passport limits someone's movement, when tariffs change what a town builds, or when a wiretap goes completely unchecked. The founding fights haven't ended. They've just changed their appearance. So let me ask you, what's one shift in civic power you've seen lately? Maybe in government, or your workplace, or your town? and one that happened without a vote, but changed how things work? Drop those in the comments, and let's trace the drift together. And as always, until the next one, stay grounded, stay human, and I'll see you then.